A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents the Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Now, in a world where disruption is constant and the pace of change is relentless, leadership itself is being redefined. Tonight, we'll decode how leadership hiring has evolved, what skills are most in demand, and how Indian companies can build globally competitive talent. On the show tonight, I'll be speaking to Dr. Prasad Medury, Chairman India at Odgers. But before that, let's take a look at our cover story for today. Now, foreign investors have been steadily pulling money out of Indian equities this year. I'm not saying it, but the numbers tell the story. Nearly $24 billion have moved out between January to October, making this one of the sharpest FPI exits in years. In September alone, FPIs pulled out around $2.7 billion, led by heavy selling in IT, FMCG and power. Even healthcare witnessed sharp outflows. What's even more telling is that the gap between domestic and foreign investors is now at a 25-year high, which basically means India's markets are being driven by India more than ever. Why are FPIs exiting? The reasons are many. Rising US interest rates, stronger treasury yields, a weaker rupee. In simple words, global money is chasing safer, quicker returns elsewhere. Now the real question, does this hurt MSMEs? In the short term, yes. It tightens liquidity, pushes up borrowing costs and dampens market sentiment. But here's the flip side. When foreign money steps back, domestic capital steps up. And that creates room for smaller companies with solid fundamentals, local demand and export linkages to shine. So while the indices may look shaky, India's growth story hasn't shifted. It is just becoming more locally powered. Dr. Prasad, welcome to ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Dr. Prasad, the definition of leadership has significantly evolved over the last decade or so. What do you think defines effective leadership in today's world?
So, the world has transitioned quite dramatically in the last 5 years. We have had so much disruption with the pandemic, digitization, technology.
Yeah.
So accordingly, leadership also has had to evolve. So if you look at leaders today, they have to demonstrate curiosity and a continuous passion for learning. Gone are the days, when leaders could assume they knew it all. Today, the reality is the world has become too complex and there's so many geopolitical influences and pressures around us. So we're looking at leaders who are resilient, who are willing to listen, who are continuously willing to learn, and who also have a good emotional quotient. Because I think the ability to relate to your teams and take them into confidence, the ability to lead a team effectively and collaborate has become very important.
Right.
When I look at some of my clients and the kind of work we do, it's very interesting because some of my clients actually continuously ask for leaders who are not only just younger, but bring in the requisite amount of confidence to the table. And then we have clients who ask us to bring in leaders who've done it before.
Right.
So they don't have to learn anymore. There's no hand-holding involved. So it's a very interesting, but a very disruptive environment that we're operating in right now.
Right. So on that note, tell us, what are some of the leadership hiring trends that you're observing maybe in the last 5 years or so? What are the skills or the expertise that are in maximum demand?
So the expectation is leaders are able to lead a commercial organization, are able to manage a profit and loss account, but they also have, cross-functional skills. So gone are the days when a leader just used to have an operational experience or just a sales background. Today, the expectation is leaders are commercially savvy.
Yeah.
Leaders are technologically savvy also. With the advent of AI and digitization, has become more and more important for leaders to understand what's happening around them.
Yeah.
And leaders are actually seen as people who are not just delegating work, but bring the right mix of strategic and operational skills to the table.
Right.
So leaders today, I think, have evolved quite rapidly in the last 5 years post the pandemic.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we speak of traditional companies, they perhaps value skills and expertise and experience. And, when we talk about the younger companies, the startups, they perhaps prioritize, agility, innovation. So when we look at these two very different ecosystems, what are the sort of trends are you observing in terms of the kind of demand they have individually?
Uh, I don't think there is any one model that fits anymore. So
Sure.
it's quite true when startups, a decade back, startups would look at people who perhaps were much more entrepreneurial and who were quite happy scaling up businesses,
Yeah.
and very hands-on in the approach, while large established conglomerates and industrial companies would look at senior, mature leaders who could show the way and perhaps carry a team with them. But today we actually find that the opposite is also happening. The large
Sure.
established companies are now looking for people who bring a startup mentality to the table as they grow. They go into non-core areas. They have their own startups on board, so they must look at skills that demand a startup environment. And we are also seeing startups having experienced the pains of a few years back. The problems in terms of demonstrating profitability and going through a little bit of the funding winter.
Yeah.
They started to bring on board mature, experienced leaders who knew how to manage a P&L and whose entire focus was to make the organization commercially savvy. So today we see both profiles are actually on board. So large organizations also look at people who are consistently going younger, but bring the startup skills to the table. And the startups are also looking at established leaders, to come and help them become profitable.
Sure. So, as I was saying, our show is watched by a lot of startup founders, small business owners. And when we talk about MSMEs, a lot of them perhaps don't really have a structured leadership, in place. And I want to ask you, when is the right time, they should perhaps consider approaching a firm like yours, or when is the right time they should look at senior leadership hiring?
I think when they see the same problem repeating itself, it's almost like history is repeating itself. So they're going through the same turmoil and the same challenges, or they see that the organization is not breaking even or is starting to lose money, cash losses. That's probably the time when they should bring in a different aura or genre of leadership on board.
Sure.
And that leadership has to be one that is different to what they've traditionally experimented with. Left to an MSME, the promoters are very hands-on, so they would rather not tinker with what has worked for them in the past. But when they start to see they're not able to go to the next level of achievement, that's when they start coming and talking to search firms like us in terms of helping them find the right leadership talent.
Right. So, Dr. Prasad, tell me, what are the hiring trends that you're seeing specifically in India?
We see more demand for diversity at the C-suite level, in the executive council, diversity in the boardroom, even diversity 2, 3 levels below the C-suite level. And diversity is not being limited just to gender diversity. We are also seeing a thrust on regional diversity. Interestingly, in age diversity,
Sure.
with the entire advent of technology and digitization and AI, there's now a demand for younger leaders consistently. We see the generational gap being addressed in the boardroom. So younger members joining the boards and bringing their tech savvy skills to the table. So it's a very interesting mix right now. We are also starting to see a little bit of non-gender, non-regional, non-age diversity. So what I call
Sure.
as gender fluidity coming to the table. So I see some of the corporations are actually quite open in the fact that they are willing to look at gender fluidity in the leadership team. So,
And what's your take on women in leadership here in India's business ecosystem?
it's certainly improving. The metrics are still not favorable to women. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. I think most boards, even listed boards, probably have one nominee woman on the board.
Sure.
Some of the better ones have actually multiple women. We've come to realize that having women leadership positions or on the board actually should be a business decision. It should not be a question of addressing diversity.
Absolutely.
Because women nowadays actually take buying decisions. So I think the ability to have a woman who represents that thought process and represents those consumer behaviors is very valuable.
Right.
So we're clearly seeing steps in terms of adding women in the boardroom and at the C-suite level.
Great. And to what extent are companies prioritizing ESG, as part of their initiatives?
So a few years back, it was more focusing on occupational health, safety, and environment. I think in the last decade, the focus has really not shifted, I would say, but there's a lot more focus on social development and sustainability.
Sure.
So organizations, especially the ones that are in the fossil fuel side or that are more in the traditional polluting industries, so large industrial companies and all that, they are looking at people who can lead sustainability and work in terms of reducing the carbon footprint. How do you reduce power consumption and dissipation? How do you reduce water consumption?
Yeah.
But also work with the financial investors, because more and more private equity are now focused on green technology to make sure that ESG can actually happen. So one of the most challenging searches that we are often asked to do is a chief sustainability officer.
Right.
So the focus being on ESG. And again, we also come with an interesting mix where companies ask us to find a head of HSC and ESG. And the combination of the skills are very difficult to find. So, but, hey, who said that the search world should not be subject to tough challenges,
Absolutely. It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are talking hiring, talent, and leadership tonight. In the spotlight is Odgers, one of the world's leading executive search and leadership advisory firms, and in conversation tonight with Dr. Prasad Medury, Chairman India at Odgers. Now, speaking of technology, AI has disrupted every business function. So are we just a few updates away from, when we see AI taking over the boardroom, perhaps? Are we going to see an AI CEO, taking the shots, or we still have a long time to go?
I hope not. No, I think we are starting to see a number of our clients using AI more and more. So, so for example, clients are using AI interviews,
right,
and they use it to almost validate what we are doing from a search perspective. But I think the knowledge and how to use AI is becoming more and more important at the C-suite level and also at the board level.
Sure.
I think now boards are demanding that they be representatives or directors, non-executive independent directors, who bring that skill of how to manage technology and how to use AI in terms of making the business more efficient, more predictable, and more cost-effective at the end of the day. I don't think we will be seeing an AI CEO in the near future. I think CEOs still have to deal a lot with human capital.
Yeah.
But we are seeing AI in every facet of the business, every function. So even in human resources, we see AI being used, interestingly, even to predict, retention and attrition. So AI tools are being used out there.
Right.
Now, will this trend continue in the future? I suspect it will.
Right, because it is helping.
It is helping. I mean, there's been a lot of chat about AI resulting in job losses. But I think at the same time, AI has generated new jobs. So I think the jury is still out on this matter as to whether or not it'll be a net positive in terms of job creation or a net negative.
Right.
But clearly, I think AI is there to stay. So it's not going away,
All right. So, we have a lot of Indian companies that have gone global. Tell me, how can an executive search firm, gain access to global talent and help these organizations, connect with such global talent, not only from India, but from all over the world?
So there are some givens in the search world. One is the talent pool in India has remained relatively static. It's not expanded by leaps and bounds, while business has grown very rapidly.
Why is that so?
I think it's partly because of the fact that the whole expansion of the private sector really started in the last 4 decades. I mean, we must remember that a lot of the liberalization started off in the early 90s under
Right.
Dr. Manmohan Singh. So the fact of the matter is that talent has not grown commensurate with the growth in business.
Sure.
So a lot of businesses, a lot of our clients in the Odgers world tend to ask us to look at international talent. I think it's a very logical and intuitive response. So whether it be Indian diaspora who are willing to return back home, or it is expatriates, Western expatriates who want to come to India because they see India as being very valuable on the CV. So we see that happening all the time. Our model is, since we are a global firm and we have a presence in 33 countries, our model is to involve our international partners. So if a client, for example, wants to set up an operation in the US, an Indian conglomerate wants to appoint a CEO in the US, we'd actually partner with our US colleagues to make sure we can identify the right talent. Now, of course, there are challenges of cultural fitment. If a position of an expat has to be in India, then the whole relocation piece to India, it's never very easy for an expat to make a change and come to India. And that might be a country they never spent any time out here. So I think the challenges around family issues, relocation, mobility, cultural fitment, do they want to come on a term contract or on a more long-term basis, and of course the whole compensation issue.
Yeah.
These are all the challenges that we in the search world have to kind of make sure we find the right answers to it. But yes, I think international search continues to be an important part of our business, and we continue to see expatriates being more and more involved in Indian businesses.
What is your overall vision, the long-term vision that you have for the company?
I think in Odgers, our objective is to make sure that we are able to make clients satisfied. Clients entrust us with the most difficult searches. They entrust us with the most critical hires. So I think it's very important for us to understand what the client wants to achieve and then make sure we help them achieve it. I'm not sure we're looking to be the biggest search firm. Globally, we are the 6th largest right now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any aspiration to become the largest firm in the world. I think we just want to be the best at what there is.
Right.
In India, we work both with the large Indian listed companies, globalizing multi-caps, even the private equity funded portfolio companies, but we also work with a number of multinational companies. So I think the businesses we work with are quite mixed and varied out here. So managing diversity of expectations and need, and meeting the right solutions is what we have to achieve all the time.
Dr. Prasad, tell me, what can Indian leaders take away from global leadership, their global counterparts, and perhaps vice versa? What can they learn from each other?
So a starting point is that Indian leaders tend to travel very well. So if Indian talent goes to the US or goes to Singapore, they actually perform very well. And part of it is because they make an effort to integrate into the new society. And I think they imbibe the multicultural facets very well. Most global leaders bring strong governance issues to the table. They bring best practices, especially in managing scale and complexity. But Indian leaders bring the ability to manage ambiguity to the table.
Sure.
If you work with large Indian family businesses and promoter-led groups, it is, they don't operate in shades of black and white. They actually operate in shades of gray all the time. So the ability to manage that ambiguity and that complexity is very important. So Indian leaders bring that skill to the table. Global leaders bring governance and scale and complexity to the table, global roles, regional roles to the table. So I think both can learn from each other very well. And we experience it all the time. Clients ask us to look at Indian talent and international talent, and there is no set rule as to what they will choose ultimately. I think they select what fits their requirement best.
Right. And finally, as we are wrapping up this conversation, our show is called Leaders of Tomorrow. Tell me, what constitutes a leader of tomorrow? What are the capabilities or skills, should leadership keep in mind today, in order to actually shape tomorrow?
I think leaders of tomorrow have to be able to handle challenges. it's becoming a very challenging world out there. More and more geopolitical issues are coming up to the table. So handling the complexity of geopolitics, whether it be in supply chains or it be in resources or technology. At the same time, managing the expectations of stakeholders in India is very important. So the ability to meet the aspirations of the investors, but also the ability to provide the right kind of roadmap and career paths to their employees. So a certain level, I think, of empathy is required.
Yeah.
A certain degree of resilience is required because of all the challenges around. As I mentioned earlier, the ability to keep on learning new things and de-learn what perhaps has become dated.
Yeah.
And overall, I think good multifunctional commercial skills in managing, a P&L. So business acumen continues to be very important when you look at leaders of tomorrow.
Well, fantastic takeaways there. I think our viewers will have a lot to learn from this episode. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Ritwika. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.